But who is super pumped, super excited for Caleb Williams in year 2?
I mean, I had him as a top 12 quarterback anyway, anticipating that the Bears would do the right thing and pair him with a smart offensive coordinator. I did not think they would pay up for Ben Johnson, but they did, and that is exciting. Are you interested in some Ben Johnson stats? Yes.
Are you going to be a Bears fan again? You back?
Hell,
he's always been a Bears fan. He's always been a Bears fan.
I swear to God, I am not ever going to be a Bears fan again.
I don't think I've ever told the story, at least not in many years, about what Dave used to do Fridays before Bears game with 2 of our coworkers.
That was back when I was a Bears fan.
I don't know this. Was he? Did he?
I'll save it for the end of the show.
Hopefully you don't remember. 3 years as a play caller in Detroit. Ben Johnson, 5th in play success rate, 3rd in plays per game, 3rd in yards per play, 2nd in EPA per play, 1st in 3-and-out rate. That's good. 1st in yards per drive, 1st in points per drive, 1st in points scored. This is it. He needs to improve the offensive line, but at least now a play designer and a play caller with huge attention to detail will use a lot of play action. It's going to be very good for Caleb Williams.
Slot receiver is going to be great for the Bears.
I hope so.
So the play action thing, yeah, I mean that's a big deal. He had one of the lowest play action rates in the NFL. Jared Goff had the highest play action rate in the NFL this year. I think he was something like 14th the first year under Ben Johnson, then 10th or 9th the next year, and 1st this year. But it is interesting. I mean, the one thing Ben Johnson's teams haven't done much is pass. They have been on the run heavy side. Their pass rate out of 32 teams in 3 seasons in Detroit, 19th, 22nd, and 26th. I don't think anyone has any doubts about the creativity of Ben Johnson. I mean, he ran a play where they pretended to fumble the football and ended up being a touchdown.
And who was that against?
It was against Chicago. And I think I read that he did that because he saw a Green Bay Chicago play where Green Bay, I think, actually did fumble the snap or something, and it ended up being positive. So he faked it. I don't know, just crazy. He's very innovative, but it's not the same personnel. It's not the same type of team. So Heath, are you as sold on Ben Johnson going to the Bears as Dave is?
I think there's a lot more mystery going in with the Bears because, what does he want to do at running back?
Mm-hmm.
Which of the wide receivers becomes the guy who's going to see 10 targets per game? Cole Kmet, we're going to talk about top 12 tight ends. Cole Kmet was not one of my top 12 tight ends when we sent back our lists on January 2nd. Should Cole Kmet now be a top 12 tight end? But yeah, I didn't have Caleb Williams ranked as a top 12 quarterback for next year. And I had Justin Herbert at QB 12. I'd put Caleb Williams in the top 12 now.
Also, we got to see if Keenan Allen's coming back because he was a big piece of this puzzle. He's a free agent. I think he was on pace for 136 targets and was actually a top 16 wide receiver in the second half of the year after they fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. I don't know if you want to talk just real quick about DJ Moore. DJ Moore. So we thought, with Rome Odunze being added, with Keenan Allen being added, in 2023, DJ Moore was a top 12 wide receiver. He was number 6 overall. He was number 9 per game in PPR. He had 136 targets. You figure, all right, targets probably going to go down. Actually, the targets went up. He had 140 targets this year, even with the addition of those 2 receivers. He is now one of 7 wide receivers over the last 5 years to get 130 or more targets and not get 1,000 yards. DJ Moore had 966 yards on 140 targets. What a strange career he has had. Mm-hmm. After finishing as a top 12 wide receiver per game, he was wide receiver 27 per game in full PPR. There's just no predicting it with DJ Moore. Who's going to have him in the top 24 next season?
He'll be close. I mean, again, seeing what happens with Keenan Allen's big. Mm-hmm. Seeing where, Ben Johnson decides to line up DJ Moore is big. I was reading some stuff about their draft evaluation on Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the fact that they decided to make him their slot receiver was a big part of what Amon-Ra St. Brown's success has been. And so does DJ Moore profile more as a slot receiver than, let's say, Rome Odunze does, who was, used as a big slot at times last year. Obviously, Keenan Allen spent some time in the slot last year. They sort of moved those guys around, so if they keep, DJ Moore in more of that role of the Amon-Ra St. Brown role. I mean, obviously everyone's going to be so excited about him, so I would be very surprised if he's not a top 24 receiver, or again, very close. So we spent some time on Monday's show talking about, like where Jameson Williams is going to be ranked. I forget what else we were looking at. I know I think Adam, you and I did this on Express. It was Khalil Shakir, Jameson Williams, and I forget who the third guy was that we were discussing. It was coming off of the
Zay Flowers.
Oh, Zay Flowers, right? So I think he's better than all three of those guys, for example. And those guys were all, I think we were saying right around, at least for Williams and Flowers, like right around wide receiver, top 30. So it'd be very surprising if DJ Moore's not regarded in that range, just based on this move and what his career has been. By the way, Liam Cohen has decided to stay in Jacksonville. I started to stay in Tampa Bay, excuse me.
Oh,
he's turned down the Jack. He's taken, according to Schefter, he's taken himself out of consideration for the Jacksonville job.
Wow, Jack.
He also got a big raise apparently from the Bucs.
Well, of course, yeah.
I do think like the DeAndre Swift one is really interesting because you mentioned it, Adam. This has been a very, very run heavy offense and lots of rushing touchdowns. And Ben Johnson and DeAndre Swift overlapped in Detroit by 1.5 years. And in that season, Jamal Williams got 262 carries and scored 17 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift saw 99 rush attempts and scored 5 in 14 games. So I just wonder if there's a new running back coming into town.
So you're not going to put DeAndre Swift in your top 24?
Well, I mean, if we get to the draft and there's not like significant competition added, I think you have to.
Yeah, but short of that, I think he's not going to be. And I'd be a little surprised if he was the main running back again in Chicago.
Really?
Yes.
Well, what's his contract stat? I mean, I would be surprised if he's not.
He got a pretty big contract last year. I don't know.
It's a coaching change, and the coach they just hired chose Jamal Williams over DeAndre Swift.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it could be great for Roschon. I mean, if that's the case, because he's still on his rookie deal. But are they going to? They don't have a lot of draft picks.
That was 2022.
Yes, 2022. Swift was still in Detroit, and Ben Johnson was officially the OC then.
That was his third year. He was coming off a pretty good year. Averaged 5.5 yards per carry that year. Wow. Why didn't they give him more carry? I'm sure I was freaking out about that. I remember I hated that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He's going to be a Bear unless they want to have almost $9 million count against them, or $9 million in dead money. He's got 2 more years left on the contract. After this year, he might be gone.
But like Kareem Hunt could do what Jamal Williams did that year.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't have to go spend a lot of money to add a between the tackles runner and put DeAndre Swift back into the role he was in Detroit when Ben Johnson was there.
All right, let's move on. I just want to give one more stat here. So I did a lot of digging on the Bears, and I wish we could spend a whole show on it, but we have a whole off season. But DJ Moore, just last thing on him, he has now been on a team that's finished in bottom 5 in gross passing yards per game 4 straight seasons. And he's never been on 6 straight seasons now. He's played the league 7 years. 6 straight seasons, his teams have thrown 20 or fewer touchdown passes.
Has he ever had the same quarterback and the same offensive coordinator in back-to-back years?
Good check.
It's a great question. He's really had some bad situations.
Like we had the Baker's worst year of his career. He had Darnold for a while.
Here's a fun trivia question that's impossible to get. So I said DJ Moore is one of 7 wide receivers over the last 5 years with 130 or more targets and fewer than 1,000 yards. One guy did it twice. You name the wide receiver who twice in the last 5 years has had 130 or more targets and fewer than 1,000 yards.
Deontay Johnson.
Hey, very good. Very good. Also, I think Wan'Dale Robinson may have just had the worst season in like wide receiver history. He had 140 targets and like not even 700 yards. Someone's going to have to look into that.